Hey there, welcome back. Today, we are going to talk about something people ask me all the time. Why don't you show your real face? Why don't you use your real name? Why are you anonymous? Why hide behind a nickname like the Warrior? Today, I'm finally going to answer that, not with a quick explanation or a polite response, but with the real story, the one I've never shared publicly before. My name is the Warrior, not because I'm hiding, but because I survived a war inside myself that almost destroyed me, a war with childhood anxiety, a war with panic disorder, a war with drugs and alcohol, a war with my own mind. I stay anonymous not because I'm ashamed, but because I don't want to be prejudged before I even say a single word. People judge everything: your name, your face, your age, your past, your culture, your accent, your appearance. And I've spent my entire life being judged as a scared child, as a panicked teenager, as an addict in my early 20s. Now, I want people to judge my message, not my identity, because this isn't about me. It's about the millions of kids who feel the way I did, and the millions of adults still fighting the same war silently. Before the drugs, before the alcohol, before the overdose, there was anxiety. I'm not talking about adult anxiety or stress. I am talking about the kind of anxiety that attaches itself to you as a child and follows you into adulthood like a shadow. It's the kind where every loud sound feels dangerous, every social situation feels terrifying. You can't explain what's wrong, you can't calm your own body. And you start to think something is fundamentally wrong with you. You feel different from everyone else. People think anxiety starts at 18, 20, or 25, but mine started long before that. I was a scared child in a world that didn't understand fear. Back then, nobody talked about anxiety, nobody talked about childhood, trauma, or panic. You were just labeled sensitive, shy, quiet, difficult, or dramatic. I wasn't being dramatic. I was drowning in fear before I even knew what fear was, and that fear, that childhood anxiety, became the foundation for everything that went wrong in my teenage years. If you don't deal with that anxiety early on, you will look for absolutely anything to escape it later, and I did. I didn't start using drugs because I wanted to party. I didn't drink because I loved the taste. I didn't chase highs because it was fun. I did it because alcohol gave me confidence. Weed gave me a sense of peace. Ecstasy made me feel connected. Cocaine made me feel normal. For the first time in my life, I felt like the fear went away. Drugs didn't make me feel high, they made me feel safe. That's what so many people don't understand. Addiction is not about pleasure, it's about relief. And when I tasted that relief for the very first time, I couldn't let go. My childhood anxiety had finally met its counterfeit cure, and it almost killed me. So why the Warrior? Why the anonymity? Why the mask and no face? Here's the truth. This isn't about me, it's about the message. If I showed my real identity, people would judge my appearance. They'd judge my past, my history, my life now. They would create a character that isn't real. But when I speak as the Warrior, people hear the words, they feel the message. They listen without bias. They connect to the voice, not the face. I am anonymous because I want the message to be louder than the messenger. I am anonymous because the stigma around addiction and mental health is still massive. And I am anonymous because I don't want my kids to be judged. I don't want my past to follow my family. I don't want my worst mistakes to become their story. And finally, I am anonymous because I want to protect the boy I used to be. The boy who grew up scared. The boy who didn't feel seen. The boy who carried anxiety like a secret disease. The boy who became an addict before he became an adult. I owe him that protection. That's why I wear the name, the Warrior. Because he fought more battles before he turned 25 than most people fight in a lifetime, and he survived. Let me tell you something deeply personal. My biggest fear is not dying. My biggest fear is someone else living the same childhood I lived, and falling into the exact same trap I fell into, a trap made of fear, anxiety, silence, shame, loneliness, self-hate, confusion, panic, pressure, and a total loss of identity. I speak because there are children right now who feel completely alone. There are teenagers right now who are using drugs to kill their fear. There are adults right now who believe they're beyond saving. I speak because someone needs to hear this. You don't end up an addict because you're a bad person. You end up an addict because you're hurting. If somebody had said that to me when I was 17, my entire life would have been different. When I tell my story anonymously, I'm not a man, I'm not a race, I'm not a nationality, an age, or a label. I become a mirror, a symbol, a reminder that anxiety can happen to anyone, addiction can happen to anyone, childhood trauma leaves invisible scars, fear doesn't care where you're from, panic doesn't care what job you have, pain doesn't care what you look like. When the Warrior speaks, you're not listening to a person, you're listening to a survivor, a fighter, a voice that represents millions who can't speak for themselves. Anonymity isn't hiding, it's amplifying. I don't need a face to make a difference. I don't need fame to help people. I don't need recognition to save lives. My mission is simple: to raise awareness, to speak the truth, to break the silence around anxiety, to warn people about the trap of addiction, and to make sure no one feels as alone as I did. I've lived the darkness. I've been the scared child. I've been the anxious teenager. I've been the addict. I've been the person who thought recovery was impossible. Now I'm the one who shows that it is possible. You don't need to see my face. You just need to hear my story. I am the warrior. I stay anonymous because the message matters more than the man. And I speak because silence kills more people than addiction ever will. If you're dealing with anxiety, if you're struggling with panic, if you're slipping into addiction, if you feel alone, if you feel misunderstood, if you feel like you're drowning, listen to me. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not doomed. You are fighting a war inside yourself, and warriors rise from war. Subscribe for daily videos about anxiety, addiction, panic disorder, and healing. And remember to download your free workbook at freefromaddiction.net. Your identity doesn't matter. Your story does, and your story isn't over.